The promise of land, I see that as being something that is key to the existence of the Israelites then and the Jewish people today, because the land of Israel, Israel itself, is such a controversial place, and because people don't want that land to be the place where the Jewish people gather and live in safety. And it's clear with the agenda of what we see today with Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran and others, that they wish that there were no Jews there, that there were no state of Israel there. But some people say, well, the Palestinians lived in the land before the Jews. Well, in Scripture, it's very clear that the land was given to them a long time before that. But, the promise was made to Abraham, 1900 BC, and then renewed to Isaac, Genesis 26, renewed to Jacob, Genesis 28. And then Joseph, when he was in Egypt, was well aware of that promise of land. And when his father Jacob died, what did he do? He had a whole contingent of people that went with him to Hebron, to the place that Abraham had purchased, so that his father would be buried in the land promised to them. And then he came back to Egypt, and he said to his brothers, after he revealed who he was, he said, make sure that when our people go back to the land, that they take my bones with them. So the idea of, this is home. Where is home? This is home. And so for 400 years, they may have been in Egypt, but the land was always a place where home is over there. And then you have Moses. And why is Moses raised up? It's not just to deliver the Israelites out of Egypt, but it's to bring them into the land. Now, unfortunately, in Numbers 20, he made some mistakes. He did some things he shouldn't have done. And so therefore, God said, you will not enter the land, which I find pretty severe punishment for Moses with everything that he's endured. And but it continues with Joshua. What's the book of Joshua? Entering, settling into the land, taking possession of the land, which is a term that is used a lot, distribution of land, distribution of the cities to the Levites, distribution of the cities of refuge, and the 6 cities of refuge throughout the land. And that's where biblical history basically happens, after Moses. But the land is always a very important key. And not just the land, but the city of Jerusalem. In the Torah, we read time and time again, Deuteronomy chapter 12, actually 5 times you have repeated that God has chosen a place to put his name, for his name to be honored, and has chosen that place. And we know that that place in Kings also, it talks about, it's the city of Jerusalem. That's the fulfillment of that promise through the words of Moses. That Jerusalem is mentioned 811 times in Scripture, which is twice more than the next city that has been mentioned in Scripture. Jerusalem has a special place as to where so much of the history has taken place, has became the capital of Israel early on. So Jerusalem is mentioned in Scripture under so many names, very important city. There's no other city that is mentioned in Scripture for which we are commanded to pray for. Pray, Shalu Shalom Yerushalayim. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. You never hear pray for the peace of Damascus, or some other city. And but so why? Jerusalem is really the center of the world. Jerusalem was the place where the men were commanded to go 3 times a year to the temple, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. And even to this day, I love being in Jerusalem during those feasts because the city swells up with people. Jews still observe this command of thousands of years ago. And so very important place. So not just the land, but the city also.